The European olive, botanical name Olea europaea, is a subtropical tree that originated from Asia Minor, which includes Turkey, North Africa, Western Asia. But despite being subtropical, it is surprisingly hardy. In fact, they will tolerate temperatures down to -10 degrees Celsius. So because of this means that you can grow this plant quite successfully here in the UK, despite it's a Mediterranean natural habitat. Like I said, it doesn't originate from the typical Mediterranean region, but it is where you commonly see it nowadays. It is grown in its millions, but grow it here in the UK and you can have some issues. So this video is about those 5 mistakes that you will want to avoid when it comes to growing olive trees in the UK. Now, this first mistake is to do with poor soil conditions, something that we do have a lot here in the UK. It doesn't like its roots to be kept permanently moist. So you want to avoid waterlogged conditions. You want to avoid heavy soils such as clays. Your soil needs to be very well drained. Otherwise, you can get the plant stressed. It will drop its leaves. You can get rots occurring within the root system that will kill off your plant if this isn't dealt with. So you often see many of these plants planted in a pot that is way too small, hardly any leaves on it because it's stressed and dropped them, and really looking quite sad. So what do you need to do to overcome this? Well, if you are planting it in the ground, make sure you specifically plant it in a part of the garden that is known to be well drained. You can always improve the drainage of your soil by digging in plenty of organic matter or grit or gravel to improve the drainage and add plenty of small air pockets within the soil itself. If you are planting it in a pot, make sure you plant it in something that is porous, so avoid glazed pots, avoid plastic pots. Plant it in, say, a nice embossed terracotta pot. That will do absolutely fine. And because it's in the pot and it's down to you to water it, make sure that you allow the top inch or so of the soil to dry out before you re-watering it again. So there you go. Keep the soil moist but well drained, never waterlogged. In addition, with regards to your pots, you could even raise the pots up off the ground by using pot feet. And if you are using plastic pots, make sure you've got adequate drainage in the bottom. You may need to get a drill, add more holes, make sure the holes are quite big to allow water to drain through. And as always, put a nice layer of gravel or stones in the bottom of the pot so that when you do water it, you don't leach out loads of yucky wet soil and make a mess of your lovely fancy patio. Mistake number 2 is to do with insufficient light levels. Now, if you live in and around that there London, you'll often see topiary olive trees in pots either side of the front door, and it doesn't really matter whether it's in the shade, in the sun, that is where you are going to put them. But wherever you decide to position your olive tree, avoid, like the plague, putting it into a shady position. You are going to get weak growth. You are going to get poor fruiting. You need to give it as much sunlight as is possible. Don't forget, these plants are native to Asia Minor, grown throughout the lower Mediterranean regions, all the way around North Africa, Spain, Portugal, Italy. They need that kind of sunlight level. So when growing in the UK, the Royal Horticultural Society advises that you provide, at the very least, 6 hours of direct sunshine, our kid. Mistake number 4. has to do with winter protection. Now, as we said earlier, established plants growing in optimum conditions can take cold temperatures down to -10 degrees Celsius, but that is not the same for young plants or pot-grown plants. The problem with the pot-grown plants is that the pot, which means the root ball, is not in the ground and it is subject to the air temperature. So if it's in the ground, you'll find that it is insulated by the surrounding soil and it gives protection to the roots. You can provide a winter mulch that protects it from ground penetrating frost. But equally, young plants can be damaged by hard frost, which will result in dead stem tips. So if your pot isn't too big or you have the means, then you can always move your pot to somewhere that is more protected and less likely to be damaged from the frost. Equally, thin trunked plants, again we're talking about young plants, you can wrap a couple of layers of horticultural fleece around those, and also if the plant isn't too big, as in a topiary lollipop style, as a standard plant, then you can always wrap the foliage too with horticultural fleece. So winter protection on young plants, winter protection on plants that are grown in pots. Very important. Like I say, once mature, established, grown in optimum well-drained conditions, this really isn't going to be a problem, especially around the southern part of the UK. The further north you go in England, up into Scotland, then you're going to come across more issues with cold temperature damage to these plants. So bear in mind, you can get away with it really on the south coast and the west coast of the UK because it really does not get cold enough. But the further north you go, you can be aware winter protection becomes more important the further north and the colder your plants will become. Mistake number 3 is to do with over-fertilization, and in particular the use of high nitrogen fertilizers such as the absolutely wonderful Miracle-Gro. You may well be used to applying a soluble fertilizer to your regular garden plants every couple of weeks or so during the growing period, but when it comes to your olive trees, you would only be looking to fertilize these every 4 to 6 weeks during the growing season. Now, this is because olive trees are known to promote foliage growth to the expense of fruit production and establishing a good root system. So instead of using a high nitrogen fertilizer, consider using a high potash, low nitrogen fertilizer. And you might not find a product like that so named in your garden centre, but if you pick yourself up a bottle of a tomato specific fertilizer such as Tomorite, or use a seaweed fertilizer such as Maxi-Crop, then that will be absolutely perfect for fertilizing your olive trees. Now there is another issue. You also want to stop fertilizing your olive trees quite early on in the season, so really at the end of summer, because if you keep fertilizing it into the autumn, then you get all this soft new growth coming through, and all that will happen is come the winter and the first hard frost, all that new tissue that the plant has invested in with its sugars and starches and nutritions will just be killed off, ruined, and the plant has become weakened because of it. So don't fertilize too often, don't use high nitrogen fertilizers, finish fertilizing quite early on in the growing season. Get that right, and half the job's already done. Mistake number 5 is to do with pruning your olive trees, and the best time of year to do that is immediately after the threat of late frost have passed in late spring and early summer. If you start cutting your trees at the end of the summer, early autumn, then all that will happen is your plant will produce this soft, invigorated growth, and there won't be time enough in the season for that to harden off. This means that come the winter and the first hard frost of winter will come, and it will kill off all of that soft growth, and that causes 3 problems. Firstly, that damaged growth makes ideal infection points for fungal infections, and we don't want to get into fungal infections with olive trees because it's an absolute nightmare across Europe at the moment. Secondly, because you've lost that growth, you've lost the next season's flowering wood, which will then produce your new crop, so that's wasted time. And thirdly, you've wasted the resources of your plant that's put in sugars, starches, nutrition into creating that new growth, which has then been lost, so you've weakened the tree for the spring. So back to pruning, always remember to remove dead, diseased, dying or crossing branches, because as they cross they can damage the bark and again open up the plant to infection from fungal infections. And when it comes to your trees you're growing for topiary, you do have a second opportunity to make some cuts later on in the summer just to tighten up the shapes. But like I say, once that period has passed, there's no point pruning anymore because of the wasted energy and damage to the plants. So there you go. Those are my 5 mistakes to avoid when it comes to growing olive trees. Let me know if you've got any other great mistakes that can be made. Put that into the comments section. We would really love to hear from you. Anyway, thanks for watching. Before I go, did you click the like button? Did you click that like button? It really supports the channel. And don't forget, subscribe, click on the notification bell. Hopefully see you, not you because you're a terrible person, but you, brilliant, in the next video. Goodbye. Right, now just before you go, if you want to see more content, more behind the scenes stuff and images that I've taken of some weird freaky plants over the years, then you're in luck because we've created an Instagram page. So you can find the link in our description, you can find the link on our main page, and if I'm clever enough I might be able to get a link somewhere up there. Anyway, thank you for watching, and if you want to see more YouTube stuff, then check out this video here. That's quite a good one. And if it doesn't float your boat, then another one right there. And enjoy these while I've still got the strength, imagination and aptitude to make them. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.